Marcus had been hiking the Appalachian forests for 15 years. He knew every sound the woods made at night. He knew how to read animal tracks in mud and snow. He knew when to be cautious and when to relax. But what happened to him last October changed everything he thought he understood about the wilderness. Marcus drove to a remote trailhead in western North Carolina on a Thursday morning. The parking lot was empty except for one dusty sedan that looked like it had been there for days. He checked his gear twice like he always did. Water filter, first aid kit, headlamp, satellite messenger, bear spray, and his revolver. He told his girlfriend Sarah exactly where he would be and when to expect him back. He packed enough food for 3 days and started up the trail just after sunrise. The first day felt perfect. The air smelled like pine and wet earth. Birds called from the canopy above. Squirrels scattered across fallen logs. Marcus hiked steadily uphill, following a narrow trail that cut through thick undergrowth. By late afternoon, he found a good camping spot near a small creek. He set up his hammock between 2 sturdy trees and built a small fire. He filtered water and ate his dinner while watching the sky turn purple through the leaves overhead. That first night he slept in pieces, like he always did in the woods. He woke up a few times to add wood to the fire. He heard an owl hooting somewhere distant. He heard deer moving through the brush. Everything sounded normal. Everything felt right. He drifted back to sleep each time without worry. The second day started with thick fog in the low areas. Marcus moved slowly through the forest looking for interesting spots to photograph. He checked his map and compass regularly. He marked waypoints on his GPS. Around mid-morning he noticed something odd near the creek. There were footprints in the soft mud, but they did not look quite right. They looked like deer prints, but the shape was wrong. The splits in the hooves were too deep and too long. The stride pattern did not match how deer normally walk. Marcus crouched down and studied them carefully. He told himself it was probably just mud distortion or maybe an injured animal. He took a photo and kept moving. Around noon, the forest went completely silent. Marcus stopped walking immediately because he knew what sudden silence meant. A predator was nearby. He stood perfectly still with his hand on his bear spray and scanned the trees around him. He listened for breathing or footsteps. He looked for movement in the shadows. Nothing appeared. After several long minutes, the normal sounds returned. Birds started calling again. Insects buzzed. But Marcus could not shake the feeling that something was watching him. The feeling followed him for the rest of the afternoon like a weight on his shoulders. That evening, just before dark, Marcus went down to the creek to filter more water. He was crouched by the water when he heard a loud crack on the ridge above him. He turned slowly and looked up through the trees. Standing between 2 thick pines about 30 feet upslope was a deer. At least that is what his brain tried to tell him it was. But everything about it felt wrong. The deer was too tall. Its legs were too thin and too long, like sticks that could barely support its body. The torso looked hollow and starved. Patches of fur hung loose, revealing gray skin underneath. What disturbed Marcus most was the posture. Normal deer are always ready to bolt. They shift their weight constantly. Their ears twitch. Their heads move. This animal stood completely rigid like a statue. Marcus waved his arms and shouted to scare it away. Deer always run when you do that. This one did not move at all. Then it slowly rotated its head toward him. Deer eyes sit on the sides of their heads so they look at you sideways. This thing turned its head forward so both eyes focused directly on Marcus, like a person staring at him face to face. The eyes reflected the dying light with a sickly yellow-green color. They looked wet and aware in a way that made Marcus feel cold inside. A deer looks at you and you still know it is an animal. This felt like something else looking out through the deer. They stared at each other for what felt like forever. The only sound was the creek and Marcus breathing hard. Then the creature made a wet gurgling sound, followed by a sharp clicking noise, like someone sucking air through their teeth. It was not loud, but it felt like a warning. Marcus drew his revolver. He did not care about rules or logic anymore. He just wanted distance and safety. He yelled for the thing to back off, and his voice cracked with fear. The creature jerked its head in a strange, twitchy way. Then it moved backward into the thick laurel bushes. It did not turn around. It did not crash through the brush like a real deer would. It just retreated smoothly and silently. The bushes barely moved as it disappeared into them. Marcus stood there with his gun out for a long time listening. He never heard it run or move away. He heard nothing at all. That night, Marcus did not sleep. He built his fire bigger than he should have. He wanted light and heat and a clear boundary around himself. He sat with his back against a tree and his revolver in his lap. He turned his head slowly, scanning the darkness beyond the firelight. Something walked out there just past where he could see. He could hear it in the leaves. Soft, deliberate footsteps. Pause. Another step. It circled his camp. Sometimes it sounded like 2 feet. Sometimes like 4. Sometimes it sounded like something being dragged. Around 3 in the morning, a horrible smell rolled over his camp. It smelled like old blood mixed with rotting meat. The stench was so strong, Marcus gagged and covered his nose with his shirt. Then, from the darkness behind him, maybe 30 feet away, something spoke. The voice was flat and toneless, like a computer trying to sound human. It said his name. It stretched out the vowels in a groaning way, like it enjoyed the sound. Marcus felt every hair on his body stand up. His finger tightened on the trigger, but he did not fire. Shooting blindly into darkness would just waste bullets and give away his exact position. He threw more wood on the fire instead. His hands shook. His heart hammered in his chest. The voice came again closer, or maybe just louder. Marcus did not answer. He did not yell back. He just sat there staring into the black woods until the sky finally began to lighten. As soon as he had enough daylight to see, Marcus packed everything. He was leaving. Forget his plans. Forget his pride. He was getting out of these woods. He hiked out fast with his head turning constantly to check behind him. The woods felt wrong, even in daylight. The silence came and went in waves, like something was following him at a distance. His GPS did something strange twice. It jumped his position a few hundred feet, then corrected itself. That can happen under heavy tree cover, but it happened both times when the silence dropped, and Marcus could not ignore the coincidence. At one point he found a small dead animal laid out in the middle of the trail. It looked like a raccoon or possum. It had not been torn apart by a predator. It had been opened neatly like someone used a knife. The smell was fresh. Marcus did not stop to look closer. He kept moving. About 4 miles from his truck, Marcus came into a bowl-shaped clearing filled with tall grass. The moment he stepped into the open, the silence returned like a door slamming shut. His body reacted before his mind understood. His hand went to his gun. His mouth went dry. In the center of the clearing, about 100 yards away, it stood. At first, it was facing away from him. For a split second, Marcus thought maybe it really was just a sick deer, but then it shifted slightly and he saw the shape of it. The spine jutted sharply under the hide. The fur was worse in full light. It hung in clumps, revealing slick gray skin like wet leather underneath. The shoulders looked wrong. The neck was too long and too straight. Marcus started backing up slowly, trying to retreat into the trees without making noise. He stepped carefully. Then he snapped a twig under his boot. In the dead silence, it sounded like a gunshot. The creature did not turn its head. It stood up. Its back legs straightened. Its front legs lifted off the ground. It rose into a standing position with a series of loud pops. Joints cracking. Tendons shifting. It swayed for a moment on those thin back legs, then steadied itself. It was at least 7 feet tall. The front limbs hung down at its sides, too long, ending in split hooves that looked like twisted fingers. It turned its whole body to face Marcus. The illusion of deer broke completely. The snout was pushed back into the skull. The face was not human, but it had a human wrongness to it. Flattened planes. Stretched skin. bone structure that made his brain try to recognize something it could not. The eyes were huge and bulging with that same yellow shine. The mouth was smiling, a wide, lipless grin full of flat teeth that were too big for the jaw. Then it opened that mouth and made a sound Marcus will never forget. It was the mimicry of a baby crying, but wrong. Too loud, too distorted. Like 3 recordings played slightly out of sync. It did not sound like distress. It sounded like bait. The creature took one lurching step toward him. Marcus turned and ran. He tore through briars and bushes. He scrambled up slopes and slid down hills. His breath ripped out of his lungs. Behind him it crashed through the brush. It was not being quiet anymore. It wanted him to hear it coming. The baby cry sound changed into laughter, high and broken. Then it snapped back to crying. Marcus heard it speak again over the pounding of his own footsteps. It sounded exactly like Sarah, his girlfriend, worried and sharp. It said his name the way she says it when she cannot find him. The voice was perfect. That almost made Marcus stop. His brain wanted to turn around. His body wanted to respond to the voice he loved. Then the smell hit him. Copper and rot blasting past him like hot breath. The spell broke. Marcus kept running because nothing about Sarah's voice belonged out here in these woods. He risked one look back and immediately wished he had not. He saw it between the trees. Too tall, moving like it was learning how to use a body it did not understand. It stumbled once, then lunged forward, arms dangling, head tilted, mouth open in that horrible grin. The eyes locked onto him even through the trees. Marcus had the cold, certain feeling that it was enjoying the chase. He hit an old logging road, and the open space gave him hope. He sprinted down that road faster than he had ever run in his life. He could still hear it behind him, but the rhythm changed. It sounded more awkward on open ground, like it was fighting its own legs. That gave Marcus just enough of a gap. When he finally saw his truck through the trees, he almost cried with relief. He fumbled his keys and dropped them twice. His hands did not feel connected to his body. He got the door open and threw himself inside. He locked the doors. Then he looked up one time because he could not help himself. At the edge of the woods where shadow met dirt, it stood, half hidden behind a tree, upright, still watching. It did not come into the open. It did not rush the truck. It just stood there like it understood something Marcus did not, like the line it would not cross was its choice, not his. Then, in a voice that sounded like Marcus' own voice played back wrong, it said very softly his name one more time. Marcus started the truck and tore down that service road doing 60 miles an hour. Gravel spit behind him. He did not look in the mirror again until he hit paved road. Even then, he kept expecting to see it running upright along the tree line, keeping pace. Marcus has been home for 2 weeks now. He has not slept more than an hour at a time. He wakes up at the same time every night, with his heart hammering and his throat dry. He checks the locks on his doors constantly. He turns on every outside light. He sits in his living room with the television on just to have another human voice in the house. Last night he stepped onto his porch to take out the trash, and he smelled it for just a second. A faint trace of copper and sweetness, like something rotten on warm metal. It was gone as fast as it came, but it was enough to make his stomach flip. He stood there listening like an idiot, waiting for the world to go quiet. It did not. The neighborhood sounded normal. Cars in the distance. A dog barking. A wind chime down the street. But Marcus swears on everything he cares about that he heard from somewhere he could not place a flat, toneless voice draw out his name like it was tasting it. Marcus does not know what it was. Skinwalker, Wendigo, Fleshgate. He does not care about the name. Names make people feel like they have categorized something, like it sits safely inside a folklore box. All Marcus knows is that something out there mimicked him and hunted him and played with him like he was a problem it wanted to solve for fun. If you go into deep woods, stay on the trails. Do not go alone. Do not assume experience makes you safe. And if the woods suddenly go quiet, and you see a deer looking at you with eyes on the front of its face, do not wait to understand it. Do not try to prove you are brave. Do not tell yourself it is probably nothing. Just run.